Hello, and welcome back to Hope is Kindled, the podcast where we explore the stories that shape the soul, stir the spirit, and illuminate the human condition. Today's journey brings us to a place unlike any other, a story that begins with 6 of the most magical words ever put to page and screen. Some stories hurt in the best ways. Some stories dare you to look into the abyss, like Rob Zombie's twisted horror films, where the grotesque becomes a mirror for the darkness in our souls. Other stories, like The Never-Ending Story, sweep you away into pure fantasy, only to break your heart open and whisper that imagination can die if we let the world make us small. They challenge you. They warn you. They demand something. But The Princess Bride is something else entirely. It will sweep you off your feet and take you to faraway places. It will give you all the tropes of a swashbuckling epic. But this is not a story that shatters you. This is a story that heals. A story that soothes. A story that welcomes you in like a warm blanket, a cup of tea, and a secret smile from someone who knows your favorite part before you even say it. So many of the works we explore on Hope is Kindled are not safe, and we celebrate that. Dorian Gray is not safe. Frankenstein's creature is not safe. Orwell's Big Brother is definitely not safe. And even The Never-Ending Story, for all its whimsy, challenges us to confront loss, mortality, and the risk of letting go of wonder. But The Princess Bride. The Princess Bride is one of the rare works that says, "Come in. You're safe here. Let me tell you a story. A story where love is real. Where revenge is funny. Where giants have soft hearts, and miracles are possible if you believe. A story where the words you say become the walls of a fortress around your childhood self, and if you're very lucky, you'll remember how to laugh, how to hope, and how to fight with joy. It may look like a fairy tale, but it's not just for children. It's for the parts of you that never stopped needing magic, and it's time we talk about why. Magic is the language of hope, and hope, once kindled, never stops whispering. When we were children, we didn't need to be taught to believe in magical things. We just did. We believed in heroes, in talking animals, in faraway kingdoms where good would eventually win and true love really could conquer all. We played with cardboard swords and defeated imaginary giants. We were the chosen ones, the secret heirs, the last guardians of something sacred. And then, we grew up. The world didn't stop being magical. But it did get louder, busier, harder. The monsters became more abstract: loneliness, grief, anxiety, injustice. They didn't live under the bed anymore. They lived in the news, in bills, in hospital waiting rooms, and in our own doubts. But still, part of us holds on to the idea that something more is possible, that the ordinary world is not all there is, that there is a secret map tucked inside the back cover of life, that a story, just one good story, can open a door. And so, we keep needing magic, not to escape the world, but to face it, braver. Not to forget our pain, but to make meaning from it. Not to live in delusion, but to choose wonder, again and again. Magic reminds us that we're not finished yet, that there's still time for redemption, for love, for transformation, that there's a why behind the how and a heart behind the hero's journey, that we too might one day say, "As you wish," and mean it with our whole soul. The Princess Bride, both the book and the film, is a story that defies genre, transcends time, and reminds us that humor and hope are not luxuries, they are lifelines. We won't spend a lot of time dissecting the differences between the movie and the film. I highly suggest you go out and pick up a copy of the book yourself if that is what you want. I broke down and purchased a new copy recently, and I've been reading it all over again with the boys much to their delight. William Goldman was already a Pulitzer Prize-winning screenwriter and novelist when he gave us The Princess Bride in 1973. Known for Butch Cassidy and The Sundance Kid and All the President's Men, Goldman's brilliance as a storyteller came not just from plot twists, but from how deeply he understood people. What many don't know is that The Princess Bride was a bedtime story Goldman created for his daughters, Jenny and Susanna. When one asked for a story about a princess and the other wanted something with brides, he combined the two, and a legend was born. The novel masquerades as an abridged version of a fictional book by a fictional author named S. Morgenstern. And Goldman inserts himself into the story as a fake editor, arguing with his fake wife and fake son, offering hilarious commentary on the parts he allegedly cut. It's metafiction at its finest, both a fairy tale and a satire of fairy tales. That fictional author? S. Morgenstern. A name that, like Florin or Gilder, sounds European enough to pass as real, but is wholly imaginary. I thought he was real at first too, but he isn't. Goldman presents The Princess Bride not as his own creation, but as the good parts version of an original classic written by the long-dead Morgenstern, an overly verbose, politically obsessed Florinese writer whose original text was filled with dry satire and boring historical detail. Goldman's role, he claims, is that of literary curator, cutting through the centuries of fluff to bring us the romance, the sword fights, the revenge, the miracles, and the true love. But there is no original. No Morgenstern. No unabridged edition. It's all part of the joke. And it's a brilliant one. This metafictional framework isn't just for laughs. It allows Goldman to do three crucial things at once. First, satirize literary pretension. He lovingly pokes fun at serious literary scholars to overinflate the importance of dry historical epics. Second, layer personal commentary. Through fictional interjections, his legal battles with the Morgenstern estate, his failure to include the reunion scene, Goldman brings a narrator into the story who feels human, flawed, funny, and intimate. And third, deepen reader engagement. By pretending that there's more to the story, that we just can't read, he creates a yearning for what doesn't exist, an astonishing trick that pulls readers further in. This is metafiction at its best, an immersive magic trick that, paradoxically, brings us closer to the real story, not further away. The Morgenstern frame also taps into a deep literary tradition, that of the found text, or the ancient manuscript rediscovered. We've seen it in everything from Cervantes' Don Quixote to Bram Stoker's Dracula to Tolkien's Red Book of Westmark. The idea that we are reading something ancient and sacred gives the book a mythic weight. But The Princess Bride uses that tradition playfully. Goldman's invented footnotes, his faux academic commentary, his dramatized lawsuits with the Morgenstern estate, they all add layers to the world building, making Florin feel like a real country, with real literary customs and publishing houses. This technique helps us believe in the unbelievable. In The Princess Bride, love is real, miracles happen, and giants have hearts. In the end, what Goldman does is remind us that stories are powerful because they feel real, even when we know they're not. He invites us to suspend disbelief, not just for the story of Buttercup and Wesley, but for the story of the book itself. The Princess Bride is a love letter to storytelling, disguised as a swashbuckling fairy tale. And in that love letter lies hope. Hope that true love can overcome death. Hope that revenge can restore dignity. Hope that humor, imagination, and heart can endure. It's no accident that generations of readers have grown up wishing they could read the unabridged version. I went searching for it myself to no avail. Why? There simply is no unabridged version. But the yearning itself, the belief that there's more, just out of reach, is exactly what The Princess Bride is about. Directed by Rob Reiner and released in 1987, the film adaptation is one of the rare cases where the magic of the book not only translates but expands. Reiner brought in a dream cast. Cary Elwes, Robin Wright, Mandy Patinkin, Andre the Giant, Wallace Shawn, Billy Crystal, and more. The chemistry was real. The heart was real. And thanks to As You Wish, Cary Elwes' memoir of filming the movie, we now know how much love and effort went into every frame. You feel it on the screen, and that's why the movie has become a beloved touchstone for generations. Reading As You Wish deepened my love for the story in ways I didn't expect. It's more than a behind-the-scenes look. It's a testament to what happens when a team of creatives comes together with a shared belief in joy, story, and the power of love. The film is faithful to the spirit of the book, but the book contains entire layers that never make it on screen. Goldman's fake editorial interjections give the novel a darker, more adult edge. He portrays himself as bitter, jaded, and filled with regrets, adding a melancholy undertone that offsets the whimsy. The unabridged story in the novel includes entire subplots, like Buttercup's training to become a proper princess, or the political satire surrounding Prince Humperdinck's rule that never made it into the movie. The ending is also more ambiguous. The book closes with the heroes riding off into the sunset, only for Goldman to cut in and suggest they may not have gotten away after all. It's a metafictional twist that asks us to question whether fairy tales ever truly end happily ever after. Personally, I prefer the ending to the movie. There is just something lovely and comforting about it. I think that the film made us question enough without needing more ambiguity at the close. At the heart of The Princess Bride lies a brilliant paradox, though. The story is whimsical and absurd, even as it confronts deep suffering, trauma, loss, and betrayal. William Goldman doesn't shy away from pain. He filters it through a kaleidoscope of wit and wonder, transforming sorrow into strength and trauma into testimony. Consider the characters. Wesley is not just tortured, he is literally killed. The machine in the pit of despair doesn't merely drain his strength, it symbolically drains his will to live, the very thing he has clung to for love. Inigo Montoya, a young boy who watched his father murdered in front of him, builds his entire identity around a single phrase and a single purpose: revenge. He is a man emotionally frozen in time, unable to grow until the moment he faces his father's killer. Buttercup faces emotional death through despair, believing Wesley is lost, then being promised in marriage to a tyrant she loathes. Her pain is not physical, but existential. Miracle Max, who seems like comic relief, is actually a man stripped of purpose and identity. He's been humiliated, fired, and forgotten, reduced to bitterness and loss until love calls him back to his higher self. These aren't cartoon struggles. They are archetypal wounds. They reflect the core anxieties of being human: loss, betrayal, powerlessness, grief, purposelessness. And yet, what The Princess Bride does so brilliantly is refuse despair. It acknowledges pain without ever bowing to it. Inigo achieves justice not only by slaying Count Rugen, but by finally letting go of the past. His final line, "I have been in the revenge business so long, now that it's over, I do not know what to do with the rest of my life," is not a punchline, it is a beginning. Wesley, in coming back from the dead, reminds us that love is literally stronger than death. His resilience is not naive, it is forged in the fire of suffering. Buttercup's hope, even when misguided or misinformed, is what keeps her alive. She may surrender momentarily to fate, but she never fully accepts it. Max, restored by the belief of others, reminds us that even the most broken hearts can be mended if we are given the chance to try again. This isn't mere escapism. It's armament. Goldman uses humor not to deny the darkness, but to give us the strength to face it. Inigo's iconic line, "You killed my father, prepare to die," is delivered with intensity, but it has become legendary in part because of its repetition, its rhythm, its fierce absurdity. It teeters on the edge between tragedy and comedy, and that's exactly where Goldman wants us to live. Vizzini's over-the-top pontifications on what is inconceivable offer a comic lens on arrogance and fatal overconfidence. Miracle Max and Valerie squabble like an old sitcom couple, because humor is how they cope, how they heal, how they stay human. In this world, humor is not a distraction. It is a coping mechanism, a survival instinct, a rebellion. We laugh not because life is easy, but because life demands our laughter. Joy becomes an act of resistance. From a psychological standpoint, The Princess Bride aligns with Viktor Frankl's idea in Man's Search for Meaning, that humans can endure almost any suffering if they believe that suffering has meaning. Each character in the story suffers, but each finds meaning in love, in justice, in service, in purpose. Goldman's choice to lace the story with sardonic wit and comedic moments reflects a deeply Jewish literary tradition of finding humor in suffering, of using language and storytelling as a form of empowerment. From a literary standpoint, this positions The Princess Bride not only as a fairy tale, but as a profound commentary on why we tell stories at all: to survive, to heal, to imagine better endings. Ultimately, The Princess Bride offers this truth. You will be wounded, but you are not broken. And when you are, there will still be miracle workers who believe in you, giants who will carry you swords, waiting to be picked up, kisses worth fighting through fire swamps for, because story is a salve, and laughter is armor. It's not a fairy tale despite the pain, it's a fairy tale because of it. One of the enduring strengths of The Princess Bride is how seamlessly it speaks to and interweaves the themes of so many other works we've already explored on Hope is Kindled. Though it wears the clothing of a fairy tale, this story is an epic, a satire, a romance, a revenge drama, and a philosophical reflection all at once. It belongs in conversation with the great works of literature and storytelling we've traveled through so far. At its core, The Princess Bride is a hero's journey. Like Odysseus navigating past sirens, cyclopes, and wrathful gods to return home, Wesley must pass through a gauntlet of obstacles. The cliffs of insanity, the fire swamp, the zoo of death, in the book, and even literal death. He returns not just to reclaim his love, but to restore justice and order to a corrupted realm. Buttercup, like Penelope, is faithful but tested. She must endure the courtship of a tyrant, face the fear of Wesley's death, and keep hope alive. The story honors endurance, loyalty, and the triumph of love over circumstance, themes central to the Odyssey and to our own lives. Just as Cervantes' knight chases windmills under the delusion they are giants, The Princess Bride revels in the fine line between fantasy and madness. Inigo's lifelong quest for revenge, Vizzini's obsession with logic, and even Wesley's blind faith in love are both laughable and inspiring. But this story believes in the power of imagination, just like Quixote does. It shows that delusion can be sacred if it protects something noble. It insists that fantasy is not a failure of logic, but a rebellion against a cruel reality. And it does so with the same blend of melancholy and mirth that made Don Quixote one of the greatest novels of all time. Inigo Montoya's revenge arc is Shakespearean in structure and Hugo-esque in scope. He's not just trying to kill a man. He is trying to make sense of his very existence. The line, "You killed my father. Prepare to die," has become iconic for its rhythm and drama. But it is one of the greatest cathartic lines in all of modern storytelling. The struggle for justice, the generational trauma, and the moral transformation, especially in the book's extended scenes, all echo Hugo's belief that redemption is always possible, even in a broken world. Like Les Miserables, The Princess Bride teaches that true justice is not revenge, but balance, peace, and personal growth. Inigo gets his vengeance, yes, but what he really earns is freedom from the past. Wesley, Inigo, Fezzik, they are all rebels. They are not supposed to win. They are up against death, tyranny, trauma, and the power structures that seem insurmountable. Yet, like Randall McMurphy facing Nurse Ratched, they fight anyway. Not because the odds are good. Not because the outcome is guaranteed. But because the fight itself is worth it. Because dignity matters. Because freedom and love are worth dying for. Like Cuckoo's Nest, The Princess Bride reminds us that sometimes the rebel doesn't walk away unscathed. Sometimes the cost is high. But what is reclaimed in the act, the spirit, the hope, the spark, is priceless. At its deepest level, The Princess Bride is a story about stories. It's about how we pass them on, how we shape our worldview with them, and how they mold the lives of those we love. Like the once and future king, it reminds us that hope can be passed down through generations, even through the lens of loss, as we see in the grandfather reading to his grandson. Like Big Magic, it insists that creativity is survival. That joy, laughter, and imagination are radical forces in a world often defined by cruelty or cynicism. Like The Alchemist, it teaches that love is not a destination, but a force that guides every step of the journey. Wesley's pursuit of Buttercup isn't about conquest, it's about belief in the unseen, the eternal, the soul's calling. These stories are different in form, but united in message. Stories save us. They heal. They inspire. They help us become more fully human. This isn't just a beloved movie or a clever book. It's a literary bridge, connecting generations, genres, and philosophies. Despite the jokes, duels, rodents of unusual size, and miracle pills, The Princess Bride is far more than a comic romp. It is one of the most hopeful stories ever told. Hope pulses through its most iconic lines, wrapping pain in laughter and reminding us that life, no matter how hard, is still worth living fully and lovingly. It teaches that fairy tales can be sophisticated. That satire can be sincere. That revenge can give way to redemption. That laughter can sit beside sorrow, and both can be true. And for our podcast, Hope is Kindled, there is no work more appropriate. Because this is not a story about avoiding hardship. It's a story about overcoming it with joy, about choosing kindness, about living boldly in the face of grief. The Princess Bride is, perhaps above all else, a reminder that life is pain, and that anyone who says differently is probably selling something. But also, that love is real. Miracles happen, and the best stories never end. Here's how some of its most quoted lines etched into the hearts of fans, contain the wisdom and emotional scaffolding that helps us face life's hardest battles with humor, grace, and courage. The Princess Bride endures not because it avoids pain, but because it fights back with humor, courage, and story. Its quotes are weapons against despair, shields against cynicism. They are sticky little fragments of hope that remind us, again and again, that life is worth living, even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard. Whether you're climbing the cliffs of insanity, wandering the fire swamp, or trying to outwit a Sicilian when death is on the line, The Princess Bride promises that joy is real, love is real, and miracles, however unlikely, can and do happen. We must never stop believing. And most importantly, it's in the fact that we keep passing this story on, parent to child, teacher to student, friend to friend, because we believe that laughter and love are things worth fighting for. It's not just the story that made The Princess Bride endure. It's the people, the beautiful souls behind the characters, who breathed life into every line and made the film version of this towering novel into something truly sacred. This was no ordinary cast. They were artists, yes, but also family, dreamers, comedians, and warriors. Behind the scenes, stories still circulate of shared dinners, pranks on set, laughter so intense they had to halt production. Of a production full of love, because everyone knew they were making something special. Something timeless. Something true. And they were right. Decades later, their magic endures not because of special effects or flashy budgets, but because it came from the heart. From laughter, sweat, and friendship. From a shared belief that storytelling, true storytelling, has the power to last forever. As a member of a generation who grew up with this novel and its film adaptation, when we first experienced The Princess Bride, it was immediately funny, quotable, romantic, epic. As we grew, it grew alongside us. The jokes became truths we learned to live by, realities that helped us navigate our world and look for the very best it has to offer. Life is pain, Highness. We learn that. But we also learn what comes next. Anyone who says differently is selling something. Yes, life is pain, but that doesn't mean we should despair. It means we should tell stories, build friendships, carry each other up cliffs, fight for miracles. We return to The Princess Bride, not because it's simple, but because it's true. Where is the hope, you ask? Hope is in every as you wish, whispered with love. It's in Inigo's eyes when he realizes he's found a new purpose. It's in Fezzik's gentleness, despite his strength. It's in Max's miracle, given not out of obligation, but out of friendship. And so we've arrived at a very special episode in the Hope is Kindled journey. After trials, tragedies, revolutions, betrayals, and heartbreaks, we find ourselves back in a tale that's soft, sharp, silly, and wise. The kind of story you share with someone you love, sitting close on the couch, popcorn in hand, quoting every line before it's spoken. In a world that often feels cold, cynical, and cruel, The Princess Bride reminds us that joy is an act of defiance. Laughter is resistance. And love, true love, is the greatest miracle of all. Though some might argue, it is a close second to a nice mutton, lettuce, and tomato. Good journey.